Okay, so this Scarlett miniseries focuses on Scarlett and Jinx's relationship, but also gives us the rise of Storm Shadow, the ancient ninja clan, the Arashikage, and this new dangerous weapon in the Energon universe called the Sword of Life. But you'll see why I named it the Sword of Death instead. Let's get into it. But before we do, my name is James, and make sure you hit that like button. So, this opens with Sergeant Shana O'Hara, codename Scarlett, on a secret mission here in Monaco, infiltrating a compound searching for a buyer who's looking to purchase a group of female hostages that are being trafficked. Noticing that the compound is heavily guarded, she suggests to her commanding officers over comms that the hostages might be held here. However, they remind her that those aren't her mission parameters. That even if the hostages are there, she's only supposed to gather evidence and confirm the buyer, not engagement. After she confirms the buyer is here to her superiors, this guy named Bartleby, she requests info about a tattoo a woman at the party has that looks familiar to her. But that's when she realizes this woman is Jinx, who isn't alone. She's leading a group of armed men. The symbol Jinx has tattooed on her is the hexagram symbol of the Arashikage clan. Go on a quick tangent here. The Arashikage clan never made an appearance in the G.I. Joe cartoon series. Their introduction didn't come until Marvel's G.I. Joe Real American Hero series in issue 26. The clan is described as an ancient ninja clan based in Japan. The name Arashikage is derived from the Japanese words for storm, Arashi, and shadow, Kage. It's part of why Storm Shadow's name is cool and perfectly suits him. The clan is centered around the family of the same name. Historically, they're operated by a pair of brothers, the elder brother, who's the chairman of the board, known as Hardmaster, and the younger brother, who's the vice president in charge of finance, known as Softmaster. Their younger brother, who had passed, had a son named Thomas Arashikage, aka Storm Shadow, who was also a part of the organization known as the Young Master and Junior Partner. Now, the Devil's Due G.I. Joe series introduced another family member, Jinx, as Kimi Arashikage, the daughter of Hardmaster and Storm Shadow's cousin. But I should mention her first name Kimi was believed to be a nickname, so we never got her actual true first name, at least from what I know. However, what we'll learn in this series, in the Energon universe, at least for right now, there doesn't seem to be a soft master, and Jinx isn't connected to the clan through familial ties. When it comes to where Snake Eyes falls in all of this, someone who is traditionally and directly connected to Storm Shadow and the Arashikage clan, he doesn't make an appearance at all in this series. That's the only thing I find really odd. When you're introducing the Arashikage and Storm Shadow in this new universe, and making them the centerpiece of this series, I just feel like you have to include Snake Eyes in there in some way, shape, or form. We're 9 issues into the current G.I. Joe run, and he still hasn't appeared even in there. So it's weird to me that they didn't take this opportunity to at least give us a hint of him in this series. Anyways, Scarlett informs her superiors that the hostages must be here, because she theorizes that Jinx and the men with her seem to be here for them and are committing a heist. Now, she doesn't tell her superiors that Jinx is a part of the individuals invading the party, only that there's a third party here with weapons. As Scarlett is following Jinx, she notices a symbol scribbled on the wall left by Jinx telling her not to get involved. This is actually a secret code the two of them developed that we'll learn about later, and it's actually pretty cool and unique. Jinx and the men reach the area where the women are being held and start taking out the guards. Now, they're not here to save all the women, they only came for one of them. When the brawl breaks out, Scarlett asks her superiors if she can engage, and they deny her. However, she still joins in and takes out the guards. When she confirms to her superiors that the hostages are here and are running around as the brawl is breaking out, she asks again if she can engage, and again they still deny her. But she still gets involved, taking out more guards and even taking one of their crossbows, which is her signature weapon. After taking out the guards inside the compound, she follows Jinx outside and neutralizes a guard before he can fire at her. Jinx notices this and she delivers a smile to Scarlett as she successfully escapes with the girl she saved. Scarlett ends up basically informing her superiors that she went against their orders and requests evac with the hostages that remain. Later, she gets chewed out by her commanding officer, Major Gorman, for insubordination and causing an international incident. But she argues that she bets the families of the female hostages are thankful that she returned with them instead of just intel about them. Which is a fair point. Despite that though, Gorman kicks her out of his office and out of his unit. When she gets home, she notices someone broke the tape she placed on her front door, which immediately tells her someone is in her house. Now, her taking precautions like this makes a lot of sense because when you're living a life of espionage, you can make a lot of enemies along the way. She discovers that Stalker is the one who broke into her home. He introduces himself and immediately questions her on how she didn't share everything with Gorman that occurred during her last mission, like the symbols and Jinx being there. Her response shows us how close she and Jinx are, and no, they're not a couple, they consider each other sisters. She says if he knows that an MIA military asset has been located, then there are only two options. He already knows and cares to do something about it, in that case he'll find a way to screw up bringing her home, or he knows and doesn't care about her, and then she'll definitely never be brought home, and I'll have to serve a life prison sentence for killing him if that's the case. That's when she reveals that her and Jinx were so close, in fact, that they lived together in this house. And we do see a flashback of this. Stalker says, "Tell me about the symbols." And Scarlett replies, "It's a code we developed over the years. It started out as more of a warning system, but eventually grew into something more. The one in the house translated to 'Don't follow me.'" Now, Scarlett has consistently put in requests for information on Jinx, maybe even in support in locating her, but they've all been denied. Stalker reveals to her that no one in the military is going to talk to her about Jinx because she went missing while on a secret mission infiltrating the Arashikage clan, which he says is a rising power in the global arms race. Scarlett asks him why other than her is he interested in bringing in Jinx after 2 years of her missing. Stalker answers, explaining he had a history with the Arashikage because he trained there for some time, and goes on to reveal that he was the one who sent Jinx on this mission. He wants her to infiltrate the Arashikage and bring Jinx back, but makes it clear that isn't the most important mission objective. The other is about a weapon, which we'll get into by the end of this series, the Sword of Life. Fast forward to sometime later, Harlan, aka Snowjob, is secretly dropping Scarlett off near the Arashikage's hidden fortress. She's already familiar with Snowjob because she mentions at some point he helped get her and Jinx out of a tough spot during a mission. As she's about to drop in, Snowjob tells her to send him a signal when she needs him, and he'll come no matter what. After reaching outside of the temple using her binoculars, Scarlett sees a symbol that looks like a bunny left by Jinx. In her inner monologue, she explains that their secret code is impossible to crack, and it's not because they are super geniuses, but because it's so personalized so much to them and their relationship that would make no sense to other people. It's no trick or magician's keyword, it's their memories. In a flashback, we see the bunny rabbit symbol translates to look. Scarlett begins to infiltrate the fortress, and she takes on the guard outside and completely takes him out. Now, if you're asking how she becomes so skilled at fighting with a katana, it's not really explained. The only thing I theorize that we will learn later is that she did train with Jinx and learn from her, so she could have at some point learned that from Jinx. It's not really explained, but at the end of the day, she is a highly trained soldier in the military. Scarlett successfully infiltrates the fortress and spots Jinx. At the same time, she gets spotted by a group of guards. She takes on the entire group by herself and dominates them, taking them out quick, fast, and in a hurry. It's a bloodbath. She approaches Hardmaster, introducing herself, telling him in Japanese that she comes with an offer. When he asks, "What is your offer?" Scarlett answers, "The offer is me." She ends up getting knocked out from behind by freaking Storm Shadow. Sometime later, she wakes up tied to a chair, and what she does next is sick. And I mean sick in a cool way and sick in a physically ill way. It really speaks though to how intelligent she is. She had a lockpick hidden in her mouth that the Arashikage found, but she also had another tool hidden within her in case they did. She opens stitches in her abdomen where she had a razor stored. When I first saw this, I was like, dear God. She cuts her restraints with the razor. One of the guards notices her free and a big fight breaks out. She takes him out and then more guards spot this and jump in. The one thing I was surprised to discover is that one of the ninjas fires a gun at Scarlett. The reason why I was surprised is that I thought the Arashikage clan would be more like the Ozunu clan in Ninja Assassin, where they don't rely on modern weapons and truly follow the traditional way of the ninja. Now, one of the shots opens up a case of weapons near her, and Scarlett starts headshotting some of the ninja with shurikens. When I first read this, I was like, damn. She proceeds to slice and dice more of the ninjas with a katana. Here's the funny part. Storm Shadow is just watching this all go down, which shows us he truly doesn't care about his fellow clan members. He orders the clan to stand down and for Scarlett to follow him. As they traverse the fortress, Scarlett sees Jinx training one of the Arashikage recruits. This transitions to another flashback of her and Jinx training. The main reason why I wanted to point this flashback out is not only because you can see Jinx training Scarlett, is that Jinx mentions to Scarlett that she seems grouchy and asks, "You still pissed about what's-his-face?" Scarlett answers, "I didn't think so, but maybe." This is like the only thing in this entire series that I think, just think, I'm grasping at straws here, is possibly referring to Snake Eyes. Because for the most part, throughout the different continuities, they've had a romantic relationship. But let me know what you guys think about that, and also what you think about Snake Eyes not being a part of this entire series. Now, it seems like Storm Shadow does view Jinx as an equal, or at the very least has a high amount of respect for her, because Scarlett points out she's the only woman here she's seen so far, and asks, are there more like her here? Storm Shadow answers, there is no one else like Jinx. Storm Shadow takes Scarlett to meet with Hardmaster, who admits to her that her skills are undeniable, but makes it clear it'll take more than that to become Arashikage. That what they value most is loyalty, honor, and sacrifice. Qualities in his eyes she has failed to exhibit and may even lack. Scarlett poses the question of what he has in mind for her to demonstrate these qualities. That's when Hardmaster reveals to her she'll embark on a mission in which the main objective will be her helping to retrieve an ancient weapon that's considered the soul of the Arashikage. That they have worked tirelessly to find it ever since it was stolen from them by a Yakuza group called the Muganame, which translates to Endless Wave. It's such a badass name, and we'll definitely be witnessing why they're called that. He informs her that the Muganame plans on selling the weapon to an outside power, while showing her the schematics of a trio of high-rises in Tokyo called the Saito Trio. He explains one of the three buildings, called Saito, is legitimate, whereas the other two, called Tiger and Sakura, are under the Yakuza's control. Scarlett astutely deduces that the weapon is most likely in the Sakura building, since Sakura means ultimate goal. She also deduces that the other building, Tiger, is the building that holds the power to their security and defense system. That building in particular is Scarlett's mission. We transition to her infiltrating the top of the building. Now, the building security is already aware someone's broken in because they received an alert of the top floor being breached. Scarlett recognizes that this mission is essentially a suicide mission because she's going up against an overwhelming force alone with no backup. She points out how the Arashikage expect her to successfully complete the mission, but not survive it, which is a loss she theorizes they're ready to accept because they view her as expendable. She says in her inner monologue, "I learned early how to control my fear in mission scenarios. It's simply knowing that whatever you're doing is worth dying for, that the reason behind it matters. So what are my reasons? The mission? My honor? My pure loathing of failure? Especially my own? All solid reasons, but none worth dying for. Except for Jinx." At that moment, the building's security cameras spots her, and Scarlett leaps off the top floor, while security is freaking out over comms that she really jumped off, ordering a full lockdown of the building. As she is descending the building, Scarlett says Jinx is worth dying for, and I decided that before taking this mission. I absolutely love this image of Scarlett, and this is why I made it a part of the thumbnail. Now, she lands in the lobby's aquarium, which was part of the plan because it's a genius way of reaching her objective faster, which is the building's sub-basement levels, but also getting past a good portion of the building's security staff and some of the Muganame's forces. However, Scarlett does mention that the majority of their forces are in the sub-basement levels. This is where we're going to see why they're called Endless Wave. Scarlett reaches the first sub-basement level, but has to traverse 6 levels down to reach the defense system's power source. The Muganame is already on high alert searching for her. She first heads into the security control room and takes out all the personnel, destroying the monitors. As she traverses through the floor halls, it isn't long until a group of the Muganame carrying katanas finds her, and a fight breaks out. One of them lands a blow on her, wounding her side, but she answers by slicing this dude at his freaking jaw, and she then proceeds to take out the rest of the group here. Meanwhile, in the Sakura building, Jinx, Storm Shadow, and their Arashikage ninja brethren are taking on the Muganame forces that are here protecting the ancient weapon. It's just wave after wave of them they're facing. They're trying to hold out for as long as they can until Scarlett takes out the defense system's power, because the ancient weapon is surrounded by a force field that we see when one of the Yakuza is thrown into it, bisects the guy. Scarlett eventually reaches the sub-basement level's 6th floor and finds Sakura's generators that power their defense system. She activates an explosive device, but suddenly one of the Muganame catches her off guard, kicking her from behind, knocking the explosive device out of her hand. Luckily, it landed on top of the generators. This guy is taking the fight to Scarlett, slicing her arm. The fight goes back and forth, both of them just trading blows until Scarlett gets within his guard and fires her crossbow into the guy's stomach. He's donezo. But then even more of the Muganame forces show up. She immediately activates her explosive device and makes a run for it. She successfully destroys the generators. As Jinx, Storm Shadow, and the rest of the Arashikage are taking out the last of the Muganame Legion here, the force field shuts down. Scarlett makes it back to the rooftop of the Tiger building, and she swings over to the Sakura building and crashes through the window, ending up on the 47th floor, where Jinx meets her. Jinx helps her and expresses how much she missed her, and Scarlett mentions she feels the same. Jinx says, "You are the most stubborn woman alive, and I've never been happier about it." At that moment, Storm Shadow is informed over comms that the Muganame's buyer has arrived on the rooftop, which turns out to be, to no real surprise, Cobra. Jinx signals to Scarlett using their secret code that there are eyes and ears everywhere, so they transition into speaking Japanese and act like that they're meeting for the first time. They go to see Storm Shadow. When Scarlett asks where's the weapon, Storm Shadow answers, explaining that when the shield shut down, the floor opened up beneath it, dropping it to another floor. He deduces that it dropped to floor 44 since his men informed him that the Muganame are amassing their forces there. He orders her and Jinx to take the service stairs and meet him there, while he heads there with the rest of the Arashikage strike force. When Scarlett and Jinx enter the service stairwell, Jinx activates an EMP to disrupt any nearby surveillance for 2 minutes so they can catch up, while Storm Shadow is on floor 44 decimating the Muganame forces there, distracted. They finally get to have a true emotional reunion. Jinx asks Scarlett if she came on her own or if someone sent her, and Scarlett confirms that Stalker sent her. Jinx gives her all the intel she's collected so far on the Arashikage, and that's when Scarlett realizes Jinx giving her all her intel means she isn't leaving with her. When Scarlett reveals that Snowdrop is in the area waiting for her signal to extract them, and suggests they both use this opportunity to leave while everyone is distracted, Jinx refuses because the Arashikage's ancient weapon is dangerous, and this is why they both got into this line of work, to make a difference. She goes on to admit that she's afraid all the time and desperately misses home. However, she also admits that down to her very core, She loves doing this job because she's good at it. It might be the only thing she's good at. Jinx points out that the Arashikage might be an enemy now, but could be an ally they need down the line. Scarlett asks if the Arashikage getting this dangerous weapon is the right choice. That's when Jinx mentions it's better than Cobra getting it. Now this is Scarlett hearing about them for the very first time. So she asks, what is that? Jinx answers, a rising power. It's going to be a problem for anyone fighting for a free world. Here's the interesting thing. Scarlett then asks, does that include the Arashikage? Jinx answers, I don't know yet. I'm not sure they know. It's part of why I'm here. So Jinx doesn't truly know the goals of the Arashikage, and that's going to be made abundantly clear by the end of this video. Just as their 2-minute window is about to close, Scarlett suggests they don't go to floor 44. She deduces that it's a trick, a diversion by the Muganame. Make it seem like the weapon dropped to one of the floors below by amassing their forces on one of them, while sending it to the floor above. So they use the air vents to sneak up to floor 48 and see that Scarlett was right. The Muganame have the weapon and are preparing it for the buyer. Scarlett and Jinx waste no time in beginning to take them out. Jinx reports to Storm Shadow over comms that they found the weapon. That's when a squad of Cobra troops bursts into the room, adding to the chaos. Storm Shadow shows up and he, Jinx, and Scarlett wipe out everyone. It's actually a pretty awesome scene of all of them fighting together. Afterwards, Storm Shadow opens the weapon crate, revealing the legendary, powerful Arashikage weapon, and he says, Inochi no Ken, Sword of Life. He takes it into his hand as its power radiates, and he says, it is the fabled Sword of Life. The power of it and the feeling as if destined for my hand, destined to rule all. One of the last standing Muganame here tells Storm Shadow to drop the sword. In just one swift blade strike, Storm Shadow slices through the guy's sword and his torso. He says, this sword has been making its way to my hand since I was born, and you are but our first tribute to the Sword of Life's greatness. As if on cue, the guy's body literally splits apart. Scarlett mentions that the sword may have been misnamed, and this is why I renamed it to the Sword of Death. When Jinx suggests to Storm Shadow they leave, that's when a Cobra chopper fires a rocket blowing up their floor. They survive the blast and decide to escape with only 2 parachutes they possess. Guess who's gonna have to share? Now who enters the room is Cobra Commander with a squadron of his heavy armed Cobra troops. God, I love the commander in this universe. His troops inform him that they haven't found anyone or even the weapon yet. Cobra Commander spots Scarlett and the crew and immediately opens fire on them. Jinx and Scarlett don't have their shared parachute ready, but Storm Shadow doesn't care. This is just further evidence he cares for no one else but himself. He jumps out of the blown opening of the building and says, "See you on the ground, ladies." One of the commander's shots hits Scarlett in the shoulder. She pushes Jinx off the ledge, telling her to go. She then leaps off the ledge, dive bombing towards Jinx. Luckily, she makes it into Jinx's arms, and Jinx pulls the parachute, and they successfully make it to the ground, landing amongst the crowd and meet up with Storm Shadow. He tells them to split up and meet at another location in 3 hours, in order to make it difficult for anyone to track them. Now Scarlett changes her outfit and takes this opportunity to meet up with Snowjob at their designated rendezvous. She gives him a burn bag filled with all of Jinx's intel she gave her. She tells him she hasn't looked at it, that most of it is coded, and she added all of her intel she's gathered so far. Snowjob is confused because he thought he was extracting her. Scarlett reveals that she isn't leaving, because if she does, nobody will ever be able to infiltrate the Arashikage again. That would leave Jinx forever stuck there on her own, and she refuses to let that happen. Snowjob admits she's right and says, when you ladies are ready, call me. I'll get you out of there, even if I have to bring everyone. Eventually, Scarlett, Jinx, and Storm Shadow return to the Arashikage fortress. Storm Shadow gives the Sword of Life to Hardmaster, who inspects it and says, we will now enter a new phase of the Arashikage. Hardmaster then gives it back to Storm Shadow, who replies, "Yes, we will." Scarlett mentions in her inner monologue that she assumed the sword would go to Hardmaster, since he leads the clan, and she can tell from Jinx's face she assumed the same. In the pit of her stomach, she has this horrible feeling. Jinx signals her to stay cool. Storm Shadow raises the sword to the sky and says the future of the Arashikage. He yells Arashikage, and the sword of life crackles its energy into the sky as the Arashikage forces chant. So it seems like Storm Shadow now leads the Arashikage with the power of the Sword of Death at his hand. This is insane. The one thing I want to point out here is the energy the Sword of Life is unleashing is Energon, because Cobra Commander had said to his men that the Energon signature was coming from Scarlett and everyone. So the major unanswered question is, how could this Earth-based weapon that's been around for maybe centuries is radiating Energon? Also, since that's the case, what else is this powerful weapon capable of? That's the end of the Scarlett miniseries. Now we can finally head into the G.I. Joe series in the Energon universe, which I'm already working on, and I will be coming with that as soon as I can. In the meantime, why don't you check out the latest Transformers and Void Rivals video right here. Subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Other than that, have an awesome day, take care, and always remember every day to go beyond.